Welcome to the History of Simple Things, where we delve into the fascinating history behind the little things that shape our world. Pencils are something we use almost every day without giving them much thought. But if you think about it, there's something quite striking about the typical pencil: their bright yellow color. Ever wondered why that is? Is there a reason for it, or was it just a random choice? And who started the trend of painting pencils yellow in the first place? It turns out there's a fascinating history behind this common stationery item that connects us to global trade, royalty, and innovation. So let's dig into the backstory of why pencils are yellow and discover how a simple design choice became an iconic part of the modern pencil. Before we get to the color, it's worth understanding how pencils became such an essential tool in the first place. It all starts in the 16th century when a major discovery took place in Borrowdale, England. Local miners stumbled upon large deposits of what appeared to be a very pure form of graphite. Initially, people thought it was some kind of lead, hence why we still call the pencil core lead, but it turned out to be graphite. This material was perfect for marking surfaces and quickly became highly valuable. People needed a way to handle this brittle material, so craftsmen began encasing the graphite in wooden holders, giving birth to the pencil as we know it. Over time, countries like Germany, Italy, and France began manufacturing pencils, but each had its own twist on design. It wasn't until the 19th century that pencils began to take on the form we're familiar with today, particularly with the introduction of the iconic yellow pencil. So, why yellow? The answer ties back to some interesting historical and cultural factors, particularly with a little country called Austria-Hungary and its connection to China. It all starts in the late 19th century with a man named Joseph Hardtmuth, who founded the company Koh-i-Noor in 1790 in Vienna. Hardtmuth's company quickly became one of the most respected manufacturers of high-quality pencils in Europe. But it wasn't until the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago that Koh-i-Noor introduced what would become a global phenomenon: the first yellow pencil. Here's where it gets intriguing. Koh-i-Noor wanted to showcase that their pencils were made from the finest quality graphite, which came from China. At that time, Chinese graphite was considered the best in the world. To symbolize this connection to China, and more importantly, to convey prestige and royalty, the company decided to paint their pencils a bright golden yellow color. In Chinese culture, yellow is often associated with royalty, nobility, and respect. It was an eye-catching color meant to communicate the excellence of the product. Koh-i-Noor even named their flagship yellow pencil the Koh-i-Noor, after the famous diamond, emphasizing its premium quality. The introduction of the yellow pencil was a huge success, and other manufacturers quickly took note. Soon after, many American and European pencil makers began producing their own yellow pencils. This color became a symbol of quality, particularly because of the link to the premium Chinese graphite. If you had a yellow pencil, it was seen as superior. It's kind of like how certain brands or styles today signal high status, even though you're essentially paying for the same type of product. Pencils were no different in the late 19th century. Some of the earliest adopters of the yellow pencil trend in the US included companies like Eberhard Faber, which started producing their own line of yellow pencils to compete with Koh-i-Noor. Once this became popular, it spread like wildfire across the industry. In a sense, Koh-i-Noor set the standard, and everyone else followed. But why did the color stick? A big part of that comes from the associations yellow developed over time. It wasn't just a marketing strategy anymore, it had become a symbol. The color yellow was loud and hard to miss, which worked perfectly in stores and schools where you needed pencils to stand out from the competition. And remember, this was a time when advertising was booming. Bright colors, especially yellow, naturally drew attention. The color yellow also represented more than just a connection to Chinese royalty. It began to symbolize trust and dependability. By the early 20th century, yellow pencils had come to be seen as a mark of reliability, especially when it came to quality. Manufacturers knew that people who had gotten used to seeing high-quality pencils in yellow would expect that same standard whenever they bought a yellow pencil in the future. So it wasn't just a passing fad, it was a design decision that made a lasting impression. The American pencil industry played a major role in cementing the yellow pencil as the standard. By the early 1900s, pencil companies in the United States were producing millions of yellow pencils annually, and it became the norm for school supplies. It's interesting to note that the adoption of yellow pencils was a combination of historical influence and clever branding. One of the major drivers was the growing demand for pencils in schools across the country. As more children attended public schools, there was a significant need for affordable and reliable writing tools. Pencil manufacturers in the U.S. quickly saw the yellow pencil as an opportunity to stand out in a crowded marketplace. The color, which had initially been a mark of prestige, was now accessible to the masses, but it still carried that premium association. Today, we hardly think about the color of pencils. Sure, you might come across pencils in all sorts of colors now, but the standard yellow pencil still reigns supreme. That's because it's not just about tradition or habit. There's a practical reason too. The bright yellow makes pencils easy to spot in a drawer, pencil case, or classroom. It's a color that's both functional and familiar, which is why it has stuck around for more than a century. There are also deeper psychological factors at play. Yellow is often associated with optimism, energy, and focus, all things we could use when writing or drawing. It's also a warm color that tends to put people at ease, making it a great choice for something that's so closely tied to education and creativity. So next time you grab a yellow pencil, take a moment to think about how something so small can have such a rich story behind it. From royalty to schoolrooms, the yellow pencil has been a constant companion through it all. It's a reminder that even the simplest objects around us often have stories worth telling. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.